Hello and welcome to the show. It's your boy Roberto. We are going to be talking about sleep. We are taking the heavy deep dive. This is going to teach you how to, hack your sleep, how to sleep better, how to sleep deeper, how to feel more rested in the morning so that you have tons of energy so that you can crush it. All right, and we're going to basically start off with some fun facts that you do not know about sleep. I guarantee you don't know this stuff, but it's freaking cool. I'm just diving deep, listening and studying sleep as much as I can. That's what this whole week is about, but it's really all about, how to thrive, how to sleep so fucking good, but still only sleep a certain amount of hours so that we can wake up and have more hours of the day so that we can get shit done. And, I originally wanted to just be like, wake up at 5 a.m., everybody, and just fucking crush the day. But you can only do that for so many days in a row before you start actually, losing your edge, not performing at your absolute best. And that's what it's all about, is figuring out how to perform at your best. But let's get into some fun tips about sleep. All right, so the interesting things about sleep is there's different levels of sleep. And so here's some crazy facts. When we sleep, we are repairing our brain, literally, and our body. So whenever we are sleep deprived, or we are pushing ourselves and not sleeping enough, we are literally causing brain damage to ourselves. So sleep is so important that if you're not getting enough sleep, you are causing yourself brain damage. That effect alone is just some crazy shenanigans right there. And it turns out the first part of your sleep, your brain is repairing your body. So your muscles, your tissues, your blood flow. And then the second part of your sleep is your brain is repairing your emotions and your mind, which is why if we don't get into our deep REM sleep, we tend to be more emotional. Our skin can be more sensitive to the touch. And it's just really interesting to hear that. So first night of your part of your sleep, the lighter part of your sleep is just repairing your body and getting you refreshed. And then the later part of your sleep, the deep REM sleep when we're having dreams, is repairing our emotions, which I just think is really fascinating that our dreams, are kind of like our therapy for our brain, so that we are basically relaxing and repairing all the emotions and all the damage that we did during the day so that we can wake up and start again fresh. I thought that was really interesting. This is just a side tip that I think is just it's just a thought, basically. It's just a fun thing to think about. I was listening to these scientists talk about sleep, though, and one of them was saying, it's very strange that the human body evolved to have to sleep, right? And then the other scientist countered, be like, well, what if a consciousness actually started from a sleep and it has adapted to have to be awake? So sleep is the original state that consciousness was in, and awakeness is what it's adapting to become. So whenever we go back to sleep, we are actually going back to our original, state. It's just a thought, but it's a fun thing to think about. It's which came first, the chicken or the egg, sleep or consciousness? And it's well, what if sleep actually was the original thing, and then we evolved into becoming a conscious, awake beings? So whenever we are going back to sleep, that is our actual natural state. Okay, so basically, sleep, though, is crucial to thriving, to performing at your best, to feeling your best, to showing up fully in your life and as your absolute highest performing self. So how can we sleep better? How can we have the best sleep of our entire lives? Okay, so this morning I did the experiment. What you're supposed to do is basically when you wake up in the morning, you need to go outside and see the sunlight for at least 5 to 10 minutes. And it's even more powerful. It's even more powerful if you go outside and you walk in the sunlight. Because what this does is this not only calibrates your mind, but it releases the chemicals in your brain to say, okay, it's time to wake up. The sun is rising, it gets everything firing, all the juices start kicking in. And even when you walk in the sun, so me and my dog, we woke up at sunrise, and you want to get this sunlight before the sun is fully in the sky. Okay, and it's usually sometime around 45 minutes after you wake up. Do you want to get outside and see the sun. It has to be into your eyeballs, not sunglasses, not car windows, but actually into your eyeball. It only has to be like 5 minutes or 5 to 10 minutes, but this is going to fire off your brain and get the juices flowing and say, okay, it's time to wake up for the day. Once that is in motion, there's going to be a timer in your body that's going to say, okay, at the end of the day, the sun will be going down around this time, and this is when it's time for me to start kicking in so I can start relaxing and start sleeping. The next thing is going to be the 3-2-1 rule. This is going to be no eating 3 hours before you go to sleep, or you stop eating 3 hours before you go to sleep, and then you stop work 2 hours before you go to sleep. So 2 hours before you're going to go to bed, if you've got just tons of stuff going on in your brain, take this experiment where you take out a journal and you write down all the things you have to do tomorrow. And then you just put it aside and you just do not think about it 2 hours before sleep. And then 1 hour before sleep, you got to cut out all the screens or all the lights, or you can get those weird little blue blockers or whatever. I don't know too much about those yet. But the light really affects the brain because, like we were talking about, it all starts the morning of. The first thing is the light in the morning triggers that it's time to wake up. It's time to get going. Your body starts firing all these natural good chemicals so you feel good. You get that initial release of energy. It's time to go. And then at the end of the day, as the sun is going down, it's also good to, take a walk, be in the sunlight, see the sun go down, the sun set. And that's going to start triggering in your brain, okay, it's time to start winding down. It's time to start going to sleep. Basically, starting up with the sun, winding down with the light. So 3-2-1 is, 3 hours before bed, no food, 2 hours before bed, stop work, 1 hour before bed, no more screen time, start winding down. The next thing that you can do if you really want to get a great night's sleep is take a warm shower. So it's better to sleep in a really cool environment, but before you go to sleep, if you take a hot shower, what it's going to do is it's going to tell your body, oh, we're warm now. And it's going to trigger your system so that it can start to cool down. And in order for us to fall asleep, our brain actually has to go down 2 degrees, which is kind of an interesting fact. And our body has to cool off. And the way that we cool off is actually through our hands and our feet. So if you take a warm shower before you go to bed, and then you lay down and you're ready to fall asleep, and you let your hands and your feet be out of the blankets, you'll start to cool off your entire body and be ready to take on and relax and get the night over with and start going to sleep. Obviously, if you want to sleep at the best, you want to have a dark room or get an eye mask. All right. And then no pets in your bed, have maybe your own blanket from your spouse or whatever you got to do, but have your own ritual. Sleeping is kind of your own thing, whatever is going to make you the most comfortable possible. But you want the room to be dark. You want it to be cool. And then you basically want to learn how to shut your brain off at night and say, okay, now it's time to sleep. Okay, time to wind down. In the military or as a meditation, you can kind of do this exercise where you lay down fully and you go from the top of your head all the way to the bottom of your feet and you relax each muscle individually. It's kind of like that old phrase, like, count sheep or whatever, but in this case, you're relaxing each muscle. So you start with your head, right? You relax your head, then you relax your face, your tongue. You lower your shoulders, you let your body get real heavy, and you do this all the way down your body. There's also some pressure points that you can rub. You can rub right here, right below your wrist, in between the middle of your things. You can rub where the pinky, if you make a fist with your hand, where the pinky lands. This is for your chest, right? So you can rub that if you're having a tightness in your chest before you go to sleep. And then you can lower where the middle finger is in a fist. That's where your heart is actually, and that's going to be some pressure points to kind of relieve yourself. And then behind your ear is another one, and if you rub that, the tender spot right behind your ear, that's also going to release a good feeling, and you're going to be able to relax your body and start to go to sleep. Okay, so these are just tips. I'm just laying them out there so that everybody has these tools that they can use so that they can go to sleep. What I personally do is, I take deep breaths. Before I go to sleep, I kind of do like those little Wim Hof breaths. I try and do at least 6 of them where you take deep breath in, and then you want to take little tiny more breaths in. This is actually filling up other pockets of your lungs so that when you exhale, you are exhaling more carbon dioxide. And if you can do this 6 times, it'll actually change the chemical state of your mind. I actually used to do this when I was doing really stressful, tons and tons of sales calls and things like that, just to relax myself during the day, doing these breaths, and then going into a state of basically meditation where I repeat a mantra or something like that. Really helps me fall asleep, and I hope that it might help you. All right, and now let's talk about a couple other fun facts. Okay, so it turns out that coffee is actually okay to drink, or caffeine is actually okay to drink, but you want to drink it 8 to 10 hours before you're going to go to sleep. Okay, so if you're going to go to bed at like 9 o'clock, which is really fucking early, you want to cut off your coffee at about 11 a.m. If you want to go to sleep, if you're going to sleep about 10 o'clock, no more coffee, no more caffeine after 12 o'clock. And that's because that's the amount of time that it takes the caffeine to run through your body so that you can actually crash. You'll probably crash around like, 6 or something like that. But if you can keep going, you'll have that good fall off and your body will be cleansed from all the caffeine and you'll be able to fall asleep at night. So no caffeine 8 to 10 hours before bedtime. And then alcohol, it turns out, is not good for sleep at all. It basically, when you drink alcohol, it won't let you go into the deeper REM sleep or whatever it is, into the deeper sleep where you're actually repairing your emotions, which I think is kind of funny. So that's why when you're hungover, not only are you hungover and you're dealing with toxins in your body, but your brain wasn't able to repair the emotional parts of your body. So if you've ever been around hungover people, they're pretty emotional and touchy. And that's why. Really, really kind of interesting. One side thing, not to promote day drinking, even though day drinking is fun. There might be evidence that if you drink earlier in the day and then you let it get out of your body, you might sleep pretty good. I know there's kind of like a conspiracy thing where people think like, oh, I'll take a shot or a nightcap before I go to bed. But it turns out that alcohol just screws up your whole sleep. Even your glass of wine, sure, it might help you get out of consciousness faster and help you fall asleep in some cases, but in the overall effect of your sleep throughout the night, it is not good for sleep whatsoever. So is weed, it turns out. So weed is the same thing. It can actually affect your passing out, basically, and losing consciousness faster, but it's going to not give you as deep a sleep as it would if you stopped smoking weed. And what's interesting is when you stop smoking weed, you tend to have these really intense dreams. And that's because when you're on marijuana or the THC is blocking these inhibitors from being able to work. So as soon as the marijuana is out of your system, then it can really start to repair your emotions and all kinds of things that are going on while you're asleep, which is why weed is just no good. There have been some studies that says a little bit of CBD in some cases can actually help you go to sleep because it lowers your anxiety before you go to bed. So maybe that's good. I don't know all the information on that. And here's one that I found interesting. It turns out that melatonin does absolutely fucking nothing for your sleep. Nothing. And like there's like a $1 billion industry selling you this stuff saying take this and you'll go to sleep, and it's actually a hormone that can shrink your gonads and screw you up. So melatonin is a lie, like just a flat out lie. It will not help you sleep any better. The only cases that they did find is if you're real old and you are already melatonin deficient, maybe taking melatonin will help you, but in most cases melatonin does not help you fall asleep. Interesting. And then some things that do help you fall asleep that the studies are there and they're pretty powerful is number one is tart cherries. I don't know if I think it was drinks. I don't think it was like eating cherries, but either way, if you eat cherries, around dinner or before you're going to go to sleep or before you're going to take a nap, it'll actually help you sleep throughout the night, which is really interesting. I don't know why. There's some sort of chemical in the cherries, the tart cherries, it says. So you can either drink tart cherry juice or maybe try cherries before you go to bed. I mean, you probably have to eat quite a bit of them, and that's like it's supposedly the effects are more than one would think. And then the other one that has some studies is kiwis. So the fruit, kiwis. But they did studies where they ate the entire kiwi, which is kind of weird. They ate the coat. What is it? It's not a coat. The fur. I don't know what they call the shell. I don't know what you call the outside of a kiwi. Whatever the fuck that is. But you eat the green part of the kiwi and you eat the outside of the kiwi. And for some reason, these things, there's something in the kiwi that will help you fall asleep and stay asleep longer. And the studies were like, it was like an extra hour of sleep or something like that for cherries and for kiwis. And it's just kind of a very interesting thing to hear about a couple, I guess they're both fruits that will actually help you sleep more. There's probably sugar in them still, but just something that at least there's something out there that can help you sleep. There's lots of supplements and stuff, but I don't recommend any of that. I recommend trying to figure out meditation, or I think it's called Yoga Nandra or something like that, where they basically guide you and they kind of hypnotize you to go into a lower state if you really can't fall asleep. The best advice for when you're testing new things to help you sleep is find something that works for you, try it for a month, okay, and then take it away for a month and see if your sleep gets worse. And if it gets worse, then you know that whatever you found you're doing works, and then you can just stick with that and you can go for it. I don't regularly recommend, I recommend first, change your diet, exercise during the day. That's one of the key things is if you exercise during the day, you'll sleep a lot better at night. Try some, I don't really think people need these like super magic, hippie butter and drugs and things to fall asleep. You just need to learn how to shut your mind off. And if you can get on a good routine where you are waking up at a certain time and you are going to sleep at the same time, and you have kind of a ritual where you shut off the lights and you're able to calm down, you will begin to get back into a groove of better sleep. And I know with our busy lives, it's a lot easier said than done. If you're having a baby, if you're traveling, if you're a shift worker, all these things play in a factor. And I'm just giving you the secret sauce so that you can put it all together and use it in your life. But again, I'm not a doctor. I'm just a dude. And these, though, are the key things for falling asleep. So again, you want the room to be cold. You want to make it as dark as possible. Set an alarm for when you're going to go to bed. Try and not have any screen time before you fall asleep. Wake up, and as soon as you wake up, go and see the sunlight. And as soon as you're trying to go to sleep, or when the sun starts going down, go outside and get sunlight at the end of the day. And then 3 hours before bed, stop eating. 2 hours before bed, stop working. 1 hour before bed, shut off all the screens, kind of just try and wind down, maybe do some reading or some journaling or something, and basically just get ready for bed. So those are the tips of how to sleep great. This is just the first bit. And again, I'm trying to really figure out how to sleep for high performance. This was more or less just your hacks for how to sleep great, how to, figure out how you're going to sleep. And what we're going to talk about next time, and what we're going to be going into further is we're going to talk about naps. We're going to talk about, the high performance sleep schedule that I'm creating, and how to create a habit of mastering your sleep so you know how many hours you need to sleep and to feel as great as you possibly can, so you can absolutely crush your day without, and without sleeping too much. But it turns out sleep is just such a key ingredient that, I'm still figuring out the exact formula, I guess is what I'm trying to get at. But anyways, those were the sleep tips. I hope you liked. Please leave a comment down below of what your thoughts, and we're going to be kind of keep deep diving into sleep this week. And let's get some good sleep and let's thrive together. All right, peace.